All right, let's get right into it. We're going to look at the paths of three neighbors. Now, two of them, India and Pakistan, started from the exact same place, at the exact same time. But today, they, along with China, are living in completely different worlds. So here's the big question we're tackling today. When this whole race started, you could argue China was actually in a tougher spot than India. But now, they're on track to dominate the future. So what happened? We're going to break down the key moments and decisions that created this huge gap.
So what was China's secret? How did they pull so far ahead? Well, first off, they were the clear winner in this first leg of the race. And it wasn't about luck or hope. They had a cold, hard, step-by-step plan to get to the top.
Right from the beginning, the biggest difference was their mindset. China was all about ruthless realism. If something needs to get done, you just do it. No arguments. In contrast, other countries, including India, sometimes got tangled up in ideological debates, talking about how things should be, which, let's be honest, can really slow down the actual work of getting things done.
And what's really fascinating is how they built their success on these four pillars. First up, language. They unified the entire nation under Mandarin. Now, this was a genius move to get everyone pulling in the same direction, creating a single national focus instead of getting divided by language.
Next, they put their entire population to work. They came up with this really powerful system where women were the backbone of production, running the factories, and the men were focused on the outside, sales, marketing, and exports. Everybody had a job to do in this massive economic machine.
Then there's education. They built one single standardized school system. So in China, it doesn't matter if you're rich or poor, you are learning from the same exact books. This is huge because it stops you from creating two different classes of people right from childhood, a problem you see in a lot of other places.
And this move, wow, this was just brilliant foresight. See, China understood that if you're just a user of someone else's technology, you're always at their mercy. So they decided to become digital owners. They built their own search engines, their own social media, their own everything. They made sure they were in control of their own digital destiny.
Okay, so that's China. Now let's switch gears and look at its neighbor. Because as you're about to see, Pakistan went down a completely different road from day one.
It really all comes down to this simple idea. The choices you make at the very beginning, your top priorities back in 1947, they pretty much set the course for everything that comes after. That initial direction a country takes, it's incredibly hard to change down the line. And you can see that difference crystal clear right here. After the split, India's leaders poured their energy into building tangible things for a modern nation: factories, hospitals, roads. But Pakistan was built on a different foundation, one rooted in religious identity, and that single choice shaped all of its national priorities. And that focus led to a really unique power dynamic. There's a famous saying about Pakistan: the nation doesn't have an army, the army has a nation. The military essentially became the final word on everything, shaping politics, picking leaders, and steering the country's direction.
All right, let's zoom out now, because none of this happens in a bubble. All these regional tensions are just moves in a much bigger, much more complicated global chess game being played by the world's superpowers.
Now, to get this game, you have to understand the term proxy power. Think about it like this. The big superpowers, they don't want to fight each other directly. That would be absolutely catastrophic. So they use smaller countries as their chess pieces to keep their rivals busy and in check.
The strategy is actually pretty straightforward. A superpower picks a smaller ally in a key location. They pump them with money, weapons, and political support. And in return, that smaller country's job is basically just to cause constant trouble for the superpower's rival, keeping them distracted and stuck dealing with problems in their own backyard.
And you see this playing out all over the world. The U.S. uses Pakistan to keep India off balance. China has North Korea to poke at the U.S. The U.S. uses Israel to maintain its influence in the Arab world. Basically, every big power has a frenemy it supports just to annoy its main rival.
So when you look at this whole global chessboard, with all these proxy fights and simmering tensions, it makes you wonder, right? Where is all this going? Are we just marching inevitably towards a World War III?
Well, here's the chilling reality. A full-scale global war is actually very unlikely. Why? Because as this quote perfectly puts it, we don't know what weapons will be used in World War III, but we know for sure that World War IV will be fought with sticks and stones. The consequences are just too complete, too final. Nobody can win a war like that. Okay, for our last section, let's bring the focus back home to India. Because if India really wants to compete in this global race, it's not just fighting battles with its neighbors. It's facing a massive battle within its own borders. You know, the single biggest thing holding India back isn't an external threat. It's the enemy within. It's the staggering, mind-boggling gap between the rich and the poor, which has basically created two different countries living side by side.
And this is the reality of those two Indias. If you're wealthy, you get immediate access to world-class hospitals and schools. But if you're poor, and you get a serious illness like cancer, the wait time just to get a diagnosis can be so long that by the time they see you, a treatable stage 1 has become a terminal stage 4.
Now, this deep internal weakness can sometimes lead to what some people call a false ego. It's projecting this big image of being a global superpower, talking the talk on the world stage. But that story becomes very fragile if you don't have the solid foundation at home, the strong industries, the cutting-edge research, and the social unity to actually back it up.
And that really leaves us with one last massive question. Before any country can truly win this great geopolitical race, maybe it has to look in the mirror first. To win the future, does it first have to win the battle for equality and unity at home?